Good afternoon and welcome to another Clearwater Jazz Holiday Foundation's Young Lions Jazz Master Virtual Sessions. I know you're excited today to join us because you heard that we have none other than the Professor Brandon Robertson. He's back in the building again, and today's topic is 10 tips for managing your time. I cannot wait to hear from him because this man, he's very, very busy in the music world. You've probably seen him all over Tampa Bay. He's down there in the Florida Gulf Coast University where he is the professor of jazz there. He also directs the basketball band. And he is everywhere. So when we talk about time, I know he's going to give us some jewels today. So before we get started, just want to thank our sponsors. It would not be possible for us to do what we do without our sponsors. So please be sure to check out the studio archives of our past video sessions at clearwaterjazz.com education outreach section. That is brought to you by Blue Water Wealth Management at Stewart Partners and Duke Energy, as well as our Young Lions podcast available wherever you stream. And that's brought to you by our friends at Marine Max Clearwater. Just search Young Lions Jazz Master Virtual Sessions wherever you stream. So without any further ado, the Professor, Brandon Robertson, the stage is all yours.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Mike. Thank you to everybody who's joining this afternoon for our session. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming in. So let's get right to it because it's 10 things I got to unpack here. So when we talk about being a musician, we speak on things that are kind of, custom to our occupation. So we're creators, we're business managers, we do clerical work when we have to answer phones or send emails, etc. So a musician wears a lot of hats, which means that we seldomly have a lot of time to do the things that we would like to execute. If there were 48 hours in a day, then we would actually get a lot more accomplished because you'd have more time in the day. But since there's only 24 and, most of your day, if you think about it within a 24-hour period, a third of that of your day is sleep. If you think from, 12 at midnight to 12, at midnight the next day, well, 6 hours of that time frame is 6 to 8 hours of that is sleep, according to what you're supposed to have. So really now you're only down till about 12 to 14 hours in a day. So if you look at it, if you break down the amount of time that you have in a day to do the things that you need to do, it's very short and it goes by quick. So for today's topic, we're going to go through 10 different methods and ways how to manage your time as a musician. Okay. And I'm hoping that these 10 suggestions and tips will be helpful for you and you modify them and utilize them in the way that makes sense to your schedule. So this is something that I do for myself, but whatever I do may not work for you. So you just take the suggestions and then you figure out how to modify that into your actual routine. So point number one, what do I have? Okay. Point number one, make sure you have a calendar. Okay. Now, I'm going to show something to you all real quickly. Give me 1 second here. Okay. All right. This is what you need. You need one of these. You need a calendar. This is a planner. This is a 2022 calendar planner, right? And what I do in this, whenever I need to document something, okay, I always try to write it in my book. Now, in this case, I only have a few things here because I have another book separate, but I like to keep a book just separate for my gigs, okay? I don't like to mix my work calendar with my gig calendar because a lot of times what ends up happening is you have so much clutter in this that you just stop looking at it. And so I try to get myself 3 separate calendars. Now, that's just for me. I have a separate calendar that's just for gigs only. I only put my gigs in this calendar. Then I have another calendar with which is what I call my day-to-day schedule. It's my work schedule, my work calendar. So I write down all the classes that I teach, write down what time. I try to put in there all my lesson times, meetings that I might have at work, etc. Then I have a separate calendar book that is just for my private teaching. So this will be for any guest clinician work that I do at high schools or middle schools or other colleges. And then also my private studio, which will be my private students that are non-music majors at the school, just my private students through the community. And I have another separate book for that. The reason why I do this is because I can see my time, where my time is open. So if I have one calendar book, I have I should say I have 4 calendars. I have those 3. Then I have a master calendar that has everything in there, like day-to-day scheduling. But that master calendar is on my cell phone because it's a lot easier to manage. You know, if you have an iPhone, you have the iPhone calendar or the Google calendar or whatever, you know, if you have an Android or et cetera. But for me, I use my Apple calendar as my master calendar. This has all my gigs, my bass lessons, my work schedule. It has everything. So I can see what I have in a day. So I try to avoid double booking or overscheduling by having one master calendar. And then I'm able to pick out, okay, I have this time to do this. I have this time to do that. Also, when it comes to your calendar, you want to have block out times for yourself, because if you're a young musician, you need time to practice. Okay. You need time to actually get in there and get what you need to get done. So you won't be able to execute none of that if you're taking up too much of your time and you don't prioritize your time properly. So having that calendar will kind of keep you in check, because you can then visualize and see what it is you have going on throughout the day. All right. So that's number 1. Number 2, prioritize the important things first. So when you're trying to manage your time, a lot of times we tend to procrastinate and put things on the back burner. We got plenty of time. I can do that later. Have you ever felt for that? I know I have. And I know that being in those situations, what ends up happening is you will procrastinate too much and then get yourself in a position where now you're having to play catch up with a lot of things that you could have just already taken care of. And I try to teach this philosophy to my students. If you take care of something right off the bat, you have more time later to do whatever you want. It's when you wait to do it later because you say, oh, I have the time now. And then when you need that time later, you won't have it because it's dedicated to what you should have done prior. So always prioritize things that are important. So if, for instance, if you have a school concert coming up, and let's say today's Wednesday, right? Your concert is next Wednesday. Then my priority would be that every time I practice, the first thing I need to go ahead and do is make sure that I'm addressing all of my music for whatever concert I have to perform. And I'm doing that every day. I'm making that my first priority before anything else. Even if I have a gig, if I'm a student, that comes first. So make sure you know how to prioritize. Always prioritize the things that are going to be the most stressful to you later. So if you know you have the school concert and you're really nervous about it, you should make a priority to practice that music effortlessly, so then that way you feel prepared and you feel confident when that concert arrives, versus you waiting till the last minute and then you try to cram 72 hours worth of practice that's going to only show that you only worked on it for 72 hours. And that's something that you don't want. Okay. So number 1 is getting yourself a calendar and writing down all of your events or things that you have going on, I would recommend to have 2 or 3 separate calendars. Let your cell phone be your master calendar, but you do need a physical book calendar that you can write out all of your stuff that you have. So that way, if you're somewhere and someone asks you for a gig or whatever, you can pull your book out, boom, you got it right there. And then you just look at what you have written, and then you can go give them a more definitive answer versus, let me guess and think, and then you end up double booked, okay? And then number 2, making a priority for things that are important, all right? Number 3, cut the fat. Cut the fat. That's what you got to do with your time. We like to fill our time up with unnecessary things. So when a butcher is slicing the meat, a lot of the time to get the best part of the meat, you got to cut the fat. And so you got to learn to shave off things in your schedule that is unnecessary. If it's not benefiting your time or if it's not accomplishing anything towards your time, then you need to get rid of it, cut the fat. So let me give you an example. I used to stay up really late at night and just binge watch on shows that I was missing out on because I was gigging or teaching or whatever various excuses. Then I'd realize that I would be really tired the next day going to work, and I was all froggy and cronky and, just not in a good mood. But that's because I was occupying my time with unnecessary things that weren't benefiting me. It didn't benefit me staying up to 2:30 in the morning watching shows that the show is not going to help propel me to do well the next day at work. All it does is it makes me lethargic and tired. So I just decided to cut the fat. I started going to bed earlier. What I noticed was I was fully rested the next day and my day was better. I had more energy and people felt that I was in a better mood. So again, changing things in your schedule to make more time for the things that's needed. So cut the fat. You gotta shave off all those unnecessary times playing 2K or hanging out at your buddy's house too long or sitting there watching Family Guy or whatever various thing that you might be doing that is not occupying or benefiting the time that it's needed to get things accomplished. All right. So that's number 3. Number 4, do you need it in your schedule? Do I need to take that extra long walk? Do I need to practice an extra hour if I've already felt like I've accomplished? So a lot of times we will try to make up time. And I'm not talking about filling in time. We're talking about legit making up time. Like you are trying to find a reason to do something longer than it's needed because you want to feel like you've accomplished something, when in actuality you haven't. You have actually wasted time. So do you need to do those extra things in your schedule? And again, it goes back to my last point. If it's not benefiting you, cut the fat. You don't need it. So if you need it, keep it. Like if I need that extra hour to make sure that I'm really going to be confident in what I'm playing, then that's intentional. And there's a difference between being intentional and then you just wasting time. So make sure you're being intentional and not wasting time. Okay. So that's number 4. Do you need it or not? All right. Number 5, follow up. So in our time, I like to do follow-ups. I set reminders to myself. So if there was something that I was supposed to do, next week, I would set a reminder for 3 days before I have to do that to just follow up and give me a heads up. Hey, Brandon, you're supposed to have this meeting with this student at 4:00 on this date. Oh, dang. All right, cool. Because as your day goes, and if you don't write stuff down or if you don't do these things I'm suggesting, you're going to forget. And then you're going to end up double booking and or committing to something that you can't entirely be fully committed to. So making sure that you give yourself follow-ups on things that you're supposed to do in the future. All right. That's number 5. Number 6, create a routine. Okay. Within managing your time there's the discipline of having a routine. If you're able to have a routine, you're going to be a lot more disciplined in the way that you approach your schedule, and you're not going to waste time. So if you're supposed to rehearse from 3 to 5, you're done at 5 o'clock. You're not staying intentionally longer because you've created the routine to say, okay, I've done what I need to do from these 2 hours and I'm out. And when you do that, it creates a better discipline, not only for you, but for the individuals that you're working with, because now they'll see that, okay, I have to hold myself accountable with the time that I have with this person or with you per se. So you want to make sure that you're being very mindful and you value people's time by creating a routine for yourself that shows that you're serious and that you mean business. Okay, that's number 6. Number 7 is having what I like to call it's like your personal assistant. All right. My wife is my best friend, of course, and I will tell her from time to time, hey, can you add this to your calendar? And every once in a while, if I forget to remind myself, which is the step that I told you before about setting follow-ups, setting up reminders, my wife's calendar will actually alert me, and we share a calendar together. So her calendar will alert me, hey, you have this gig coming up. So not only does she see it, but then I'll see it pop up on my phone too. And I'll say, oh, okay, that's right. Boom. So always have an assistant, like if you have a bandmate, for your bandmates, create a band calendar if you're in a group and share it with each other. So then that way, whenever the band leader puts a gig on the calendar, it automatically gets added to your calendar. You see it show up. Make sure you add all the details within the notes section so that when you pull up the event itself on your calendar, you have all the necessity items there at your disposal so you can look at and view it. Also making sure that if you're able to share your calendar, that it's beneficial, because then now everyone's on the same page and you're not having to repeat this information over and over again, like it's already there. So that would be another suggestion, having like an assistant. So that's number 7. Number 8 is having the patience with your time. We are so impatient with wanting to get things done. And so this will be, rushing through a chart, making sure that we, do this transcription on time, and then we blow through it. And then now we're having to go back and do more work because we were rushing. Be patient with your time. If you leave, I always tell my students this. My students will ask me, Professor, I'm not showing up to no gig, no hour and a half before I got to play. I say, okay, let me tell you why I do so. If you don't live within a 15-mile radius of your gig, you're more than likely will be late due to traffic. I don't care if there's no traffic on that road. You're going to end up running into something that's going to prevent you from showing up on time. It happens all the time. That's why I always leave. If the gig was at 4 o'clock, I'm going to leave at 2:30. I'm going to give myself, and if the gig is an hour away, I'm going to leave at 2:30 just to give myself an extra 30 minutes. Heck, I might leave at 2:15 and give myself an extra 45 minutes in the event that I do hit traffic and I'm sitting in traffic for 10 minutes. Now I'm still early. I'll still make it to the gig on time. You see what I'm saying? So making sure that you are aware and patient. You're patient with your time, because you don't want to rush that. Okay. Number 9, always. This is definitely a big deal. Always make sure that whatever you plan and schedule, that you get confirmations from everybody else who's involved that they're on the same page. Sometimes you might have a certain time written and then the other person doesn't. So you want to make sure that everyone's on the exact same page. All right. And then lastly, another good way how to manage your time is by making sure that you are not filling in your time with things that aren't progressing or helping you to progress. If you're taking things out of your day or you're putting things in your day that's going to eat up your time and being overcommitted, then it's not going to benefit you. So having an overcommitment could also devalue your time as well. And it causes you a lot of headache and problems. All right. That would be the most biggest point I can present to you on this behalf of managing your time. So let's go through these again, just to wrap things up here. You have your calendar. You want to make sure that you prioritize the things that needs to be done first. You want to cut the fat from your time. So make sure you're taking things out of your schedule that's not supposed to be there. Look at your schedule. And if you're doing things that you don't think you really need, take it out. That goes with point number 3, just take it out. Make sure you do follow-ups, set yourself reminders, send yourself schedule emails, anything that you can do to remind yourself that, hey, you got these things coming up. Create a routine for yourself. All right. Make sure that you create a routine so everybody's on the same page. Making sure that whenever you are scheduling, you're patient about the time that you're committing to, okay? And you're patient with the people that you're working with. Also, making sure that everybody that's involved with things that's on a timely manner, that they're all on the same page, that everyone's on the same page. And then lastly, try not to overcommit your time, because you do need time for yourself. Self-love, mental care is very important. And you don't want to just take up so much time in your day that you don't have no time for yourself. Drop the mic.
And he drops the mic. Professor Brandon Robertson, I must say, you've given us some great tips. Just bringing it home with the communication and make sure everybody's on the same page. And I love how you said, cut the fat. There's so many things in the day that we can occupy our time with that is not helping us at all. Mm-hmm. So whether you're a beginner musician or you've been out on the road or you're seasoned, I think we can all take something from what Professor Brandon Robertson has shared with us today and take it from someone that's doing it. I mean, he's Grammy nominated. He's dropped plenty of projects and he's playing all over. And I know these steps that he's using is helping him to be successful. So thank you again, Professor, for this session. We want to thank our sponsors today. Also, if you want to see more of this, or you love this content that we're doing here at Clearwater Jazz, don't forget, you can see more for free. And I did say free. Just go to our website, www.clearwaterjazz.com/education, and check out those archives of more great sessions just like this. And if there's something that you want to hear us do, or you want to tell us how much you love hearing Brandon Robertson, you can email us at info@clearwaterjazz.com. We love hearing from our listeners. And until next time, thank you again, Professor. And everyone, guys, keep it swinging. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.
All right, guys. Holla at you. Later.